And what is happening is over the course of this weekend, we're signing 4 consent agreements with different communities in the southern part of the country in the Toledo district. These consent agreements essentially lay out a legally binding contract between the government of Belize, U.S. Capital Corp, and the communities for not only work that will be done in the communities, but jobs that are coming to the communities and the way that we will conduct that work. All of that has been laid out in the contract, and we are very happy to have this momentous occasion. It is unique in the history of our nation to be able to do this, and U.S. Capital Corp is proud to be able to bring development to southern Belize. And we look forward to the work and to the jobs that will come therefrom. After the signing of the consent agreements, of course, we would hope to get consent agreements with all the communities with which we are engaging. But to answer your question specifically, we will probably start training a joint monitoring team. The consent agreement or the contract calls for a joint monitoring team that includes members of the community. It includes representatives from U.S. Capital Corp, and U.S. Capital Corp and the government of Belize will be tasked with training these individuals in everything from best environmental management practices, best oil and gas practices, mitigating against potential impacts in the community in a number of different areas. So that is what we expect to happen. Needless to say, we have to wait for the communities to choose their joint monitoring team representatives, and we go from there. So that is the first step. And obviously in the weeks and months to come, we move steadily, but with clarity now, towards seismic acquisition.
How many communities is U.S. Capital Corp working with?
Well, there are 7 communities for which the legal system, for lack of a better term, because of the consent agreement in court, requires a consent agreement. But Mr. Powell, there are any number of communities that this project will impact, from as far south here in this area of Boom Creek, all the way to the communities that we're working with, all the way north at PG. We expect that the jobs that will come, we expect that the impact via revenues, if we are lucky enough to get a discovery, it will impact the entire Toledo district, obviously, but also the entire nation of Belize. So while we are working with zeal and with enthusiasm in these specific communities, for us the bigger picture is always about Belize and be able to bring development to our country. Brian, I think it is important to underscore the gratitude of U.S. Capital Corp to our public servants who have partnered with us in getting us today. Perhaps more than anybody else, the men and women of the Geology and Petroleum Department who have shown professionalism, who have been there working hard with us each and every step of the way, and have shown patience, as it has taken in some cases over a year to get here. But I do want to underscore our gratitude to them. Obviously, they're not the only ones. There are other government departments, Environment, Attorney General's Ministry, Indigenous Affairs Ministry, that have all been a part of getting us to this point. But clearly, those who have been very, very close to this process and in a way have led this process have been the men and women of the Geology Petroleum, and I do want to thank them.
As you know, it started in October of last year, and we've only just completed 4 of the 7 communities. But it was really an experience for me to see that the communities really wanted this, really wanted to sign on to do the seismic testing, to see what are the possibilities here in terms of what may be under the ground that can contribute to their future development. Of course, another eye-opener for me was really to see how divided some of the communities are over the various issues of the day, and to see where the challenges are. And I think ultimately I'm going to leave here thinking that we need to find a way to work together better. We need to find a way to talk to each other more and not talk at each other. We need to find a way to sit down and figure out what are the things we have in common and focus less on the things we disagree over, because ultimately it has to be about what's best for the people. And none of us really have all the answers, but if we get together then we can figure it out. I'm sure of that. I believe in that with all my heart.